Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
I have a song in my head.
Are you going to sing for us?
No, I'm not going to sing.
Well, then why else would you tell us?
I watched years and years ago before COVID. I was in the chorus of a stage production of Paris of Penzance, just singing the concert, not the actual staged. And I've got Poor Wandering One in my head, and there's no way I would sing that because that's far too high on the notes. But
Could have been fun.
Hi everyone.
hello.
The meeting has now been blessed. Aaron has decided to join us for the first time in months.
The Poor Wandering One has arrived.
Elaine, how
Hey,
are you
hey,
feeling
everybody.
this morning, or do you need me to drive?
I don't know. I'm just kind of like fatigued. Yeah, you can go ahead and drive if you'd like. If not, no biggie. I can do it.
I
I
got
just
you.
might slow.
No
right.
trouble at all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sinus infection. Like, I don't know if everybody was there in the last like thing. It's not the worst sinus infection I've had, but like I'm kind of like tired, and when I wake up, I have the worst pain imaginable. But it like lowers throughout the day.
I used to get the sinus infection once every year around September, October. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But it stopped since COVID, ironically.
Huh.
Probably because
All right.
I'm not exposed to as many people anymore. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kick things off here for everybody. Sorry to cut the conversation, but we got a little less than an hour, and let's get through what we can. Welcome to the Open Source Committee meeting, September 4th, 2025. Reminder, if you can, if you're not feeling well, it's fine. Cameras on, and of course your introductions there, which I see people getting started with. Again, that's mainly for committee members, and then Christina, we would ask that you do that as well. In any case, quick look at the agenda for today. Developer Advocate Program onboarding. You should already see a couple of the developer advocates here in the call. OSC events was one I had to add per a conversation yesterday. I'll provide some more detail. Maintainer Retainer Program, Tooling Sustainability Program, Committee Elections, which are going to be here before we know it. The Accelerated Program, as far as any stipending we want to do for the Summer of Code program, and then any other business. Anything that's not on the agenda that a committee member feels needs to be on the agenda. All righty. We'll go right into developer onboarding status. Looks like that's going to be on me. So on Monday, we did have a session with all four of the developer advocates. Looks like that time generally is going to work out for them. So we'll have our weekly sync at that time. There have been a few committee members that were invited to that session specifically. If it's something that you are planning on committing to, feel free to just reach out to me. More than happy to put you on that invite. The developer advocates, of course, as they get started, will also be expected to attend the committee meetings here as they can. They've already been added to this invite, like they're here today. So we'll continue to see them around. Onboarding status, we're actually looking at this starting October the 1st. So as I believe we mentioned in previous weeks, everything for the budget contract for the open source committee, that's pushing through the month of September, and we're trying to get as many things as possible started 1st of October. In this case, developer advocates would start their actual work experience with their normal payments coming in October and things. So if we need to dive deeper into that, let me know. Any questions on the onboarding status for developer advocates?
Yeah, what day did you say the gap onboarding was?
We had it on Monday this week.
Mhm.
The session is Mondays at like 4 or 5 UTC right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Developer advocate onboarding.
Not a question, but you said if someone wants to be put on the meetings schedule, just put me on that one as well until my term. And so, of course,
I believe I do have you on there, but I will double check. Elaine, I will do that for you as well. Okay, we're still a bit shy of quorum here. We've got 4. So if we get some others in, we can talk about actual decisions. Right now, it's going to put a little bit of a damper, but just to set the stage, regarding OSC events, there is the Open Source Summit and the Cardano Summit, which we were looking at for this year. The Open Source Summit in Korea being an event that potentially would be sponsored by the OSC. If we do that, that basically runs a risk of taking away half or more of what was allocated to events. So there is one piece of optionality here as to where, because we've been delegated the 250,000 ADA, the committee could choose to use it for that program alone based on the cost of travel. The last thing that I have on this here is that per the conversation that I had yesterday, there was an ask that if OSC is sponsoring that specific event, the Open Source Summit Korea, would the OSC also then be covering Intersect staff costs, or is that going back the other way? So I understand that that's a couple of questions, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. The Korea was supposed to be Intersect Ops, and then budget was to allocate them coming out to it. We could do a co-sponsorship if that was the discussion point, but was that coming from Nick Text? Or
yeah, that was in the budget call yesterday, so we can take that back, or now I'll clear it up with Laura tomorrow.
Because Jack already approved the event from an Intersect Ops side, so I can follow up with that too.
Okay. Elaine.
Yeah, this might just be the same question that Christian just asked, but I guess my point was, is the sponsorship of the conference like necessary, or like what is the maybe this is a bit blunt, but what do we get out of like sponsoring it as opposed to just presenting like at it?
So sponsorship, you get a booth, people can come by and meet it, or Adam can speak to that. Yeah.
Oh, I was actually going to ask, similar to Elaine, like why would the open source committee here be sponsoring? Because I do feel like our booth, like we got a lot of foot traffic, but we didn't necessarily get a lot of interest in Cardano when we did it at the Open Source Summit in Austria last year. So like, and I was under the impression that that line item in the OSC budget was more for particularly stipending OSC members to actually attend events in a speaker or just attendee format to kind of advocate for Cardano and the open source community, not for, subsidizing Intersect booth sponsorship. Definitely doesn't seem to be what was intended by the budget line item.
Correct. That's my. I think this is coming from Intersect leadership not fully understanding the open source budget. With Jack back from PTO, we have a meeting next week to clarify all these things. And I've already told them basically anything that's supposed to be Intersect ops cost does not touch OSC budget. And so I left it open. If y'all decided you wanted to co-sponsor event, that would be possible. That's completely at your jurisdiction. My conversation with Jack is I have interest to position Cardano within the open source summit sphere and build upon what we had in Vienna. And that's why we have 3 panel talk submissions coming with that. And I wanted to do a side event, which this is where the OSC might be able to help with too, is where we actually partner with the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust and do a Web3 integration side event, specifically to traffic people there. And we can also partner with our Korean community there because they have had no representation from Cardano events to my understanding. So that's why I specifically chose this event. So that way we could capitalize on multiple things at once. So. Yeah, good point. So.
Okay, so apologies for inciting a public panic in this regard. Obviously, we're going to take this back to the drawing board, if you will. The question would still exist, though, when it comes to events specifically. Do we hold true on the U.S. dollar value, or would the committee be open to utilizing the ADA value for that particular program for flexibility purposes?
Sorry, does this come out of, sorry if somebody already said this, does this come out of events budget or?
Yes.
Okay.
So events is what on the proposed, or on the withdrawal is 250,000 ADA, which we had originally done at a value of 125,000. 125,000 is not going to net us that amount of ADA at current break rates, right? So all that was highlighted was because events typically have a higher cost, the committee could make the decision to hold on to more for event attendance if you decided to, while we, make the original alignment with the other programs there. It's not a requirement, it's just an ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm speaking only for myself. My impression throughout the entire budget process was that we were coming up with all of those numbers based on US dollar value. And I think it would only be correct to stick to those numbers, and live within our means and not go over just because we have the ADA. That ADA should end up back in the treasury for a future year.
I think regarding whether, like, separating out the question of like whether or not we're going to sponsor like the program from whether or not we can use the ADA in if we can use it like denominated in ADA instead of USD for like events in particular. If it doesn't contradict anything that we like published like before, I think like it's an okay justification. But I don't think it necessarily like impacts like whether or not we should sponsor the program or not. Whether or not it's actually worth like spending that much. I have to think about that.
Yeah, the design is these are separate questions. Johnny?
What it may contradict is previous decisions. There was a discussion with the developer advocate position that it was being fixed to the US dollar valuation rather than an ADA amount. And if we did a different budget line item and made a different decision, then we would be contradicting previous decisions and possibly being hypocritical. So I'm concerned about that. If a decision was made to switch the ADA, that might have to happen for other budget line items, so there isn't an inconsistency. So a decision would need to be made, in my opinion.
Okay. As it was a topic raised, I know I raised it. I can't officially call it for a motion, but does anybody wish to essentially call for the motion based on consensus that says we do not contradict the previous decision?
Do we need to actually vote to not change our minds?
I would say since it's raised, that way it's something I can refer back to that's easier to have. But if you guys don't want to, then it doesn't get
So,
raised. And move
so
on.
in that case, I would raise that we keep all OSC budget line items that were specified in US dollar values during the budget and treasury withdrawal actions at their US dollar value.
For the recording purposes, I'm seeing quite unanimous consensus with that, so we will move on. Maintainer retainer program. Here we have the application form and the interview structure that are up for review. As far as the application form, there are two forms. Both of them are published in the Discord channel for review, the Discord thread, I should say. These forms are still requiring some feedback before they're 100% polished and ready to go. Does anybody have immediate questions on the forms in their current state?
Just some review I'll need to do on the project. Applying, I know I missed yesterday's rescheduled work session. I do apologize for that. I got caught up in a different thing. But there is also the ongoing delay potential because of the pushback from core maintainers and project leads. I know Christian's been having a side channel discussion with them to try and get a compromise in place. So there's a bit of almost a showstopper at the moment until that's resolved. But yes, if a separate session can be opened up, and I apologize for asking for it when we had the opportunity yesterday, I'll turn up and we'll go through the forum line by line if that's okay.
Christian?
Yeah, conversation. They still have the same points, but clarifying the process and what we're planning to do, not by just destroying the project with anyone from any skill set going in. I think they're more okay with it. They even suggested some people that should be interested in the program. And I think we started off slow, as Adam was suggesting, maybe work on some of the less stringent core projects. And since I think our milestones are based on batches of 5, maybe we do 2 core projects to start with, and then 3 of the community, and work things in that way. That way it's more stable, and then we can figure out the processes on our end and make sure we have everything lined up correctly. But I think they're in support of the program. It's just the access security thing, and maybe we during evaluation period have a limited access to things until they agree to give full maintainer rights or whatever it may be. And they did suggest adding adjectives in front of the word maintainer, like community representative maintainer or something like that. That way we still keep marketing, but make it clear on the distinction between what the role actually is. So.
Sebastian, you had a question there?
Okay. My concern is about not only with the first, hi everybody. Second, my concern about not only the maintainer retainer, but also the tooling system, the tooling program and the committee and the accelerator and the rest of the programs. It's about the participation from the community. How we are. I commented this yesterday in our working session. I think we are not doing a really good job promoting these programs across the community. I know we have this knowledge base, this robust documentation where people can go and read about each one of the programs that are at disposal in this moment. But I think we are not getting this involving from the people. And I expressed yesterday, maybe we can try other moves to do it, right? For example, in the ecosystem, this ecosystem is really robust in different tooling. One of those is these platforms that promote these jobs and this kind of jobs or tasks for the people. So I'm talking about socials and all that stuff, and many others. My point is we should do better job promoting these programs across the ecosystem, because there is people that is asking, okay, I didn't know this program exists. That's my initial point. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think the answer is directly targeted to answering the question that Adams put out here, which is none. There is no other program that has been marketed as of this time other than the Developer Advocate Program. So we have been focusing on the build of these programs, and once they are built, then we would move on to the marketing phase. So the reason why it's not out there, or why we need to do a better job, is that we have not done the job at all yet, and that's the
All right.
defining line there.
We can start talking with people in the ecosystem that help us to distribute this information in intending to get to the corners of the ecosystem that is not getting there yet. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, the idea is to get them ready first, and then we can start doing that. Johnny?
Yeah, so up until now, the program has been something that wasn't funded and verified and treasure withdrawn against. So promoting it may have been a fool's errand if we hadn't have got the funding. Now that we do have it, we're building the application forms, but then we've had the pushback from the core maintainers. Just for context, they're worried about the title maintainer being a very specific thing in a GitHub repository, and they don't want to give people that immediate access to that level of contribution. Being able to accept pull requests for the code directly immediately appearing in the GitHub without proper oversight. That's their concern. So that slowed things down. And then whenever you do marketing, you don't want to do an announcement of an announcement, which seems to be the way of doing things in Cardano at the moment. And it would be nice to announce it with the application form as a call to action as soon as you market it. So once we have the form completed and the compromise made, then we can start really going around all the houses and saying, hey, we have this, it's been funded, we have the need for applicants, here's the form, and everything can all happen at once. I do appreciate that there's been delays and people haven't heard about it other than through like the D-reps voting on budget, but it wasn't existent until the budget was ratified.
Yeah, so I was just gonna jump in and ask Sebastian if maybe working to identify those good channels that we should be leveraging to get greater penetration once these programs are ready. If you would be okay with taking that as a takeaway action, so that way we have a list ready to go. So as soon as these things are ready for promotion, we know where to go and promote them at to get that kind of market penetration.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Any other questions on maintainer retainer? Okay, over to tooling sustainability. Christian, do you have an update for us?
Yep. So it was proposed in the last tooling working group that they want to do a similar structure like a two-phase round what the core infrastructure roadmap working group did last year, where we accept projects to come in, but there's a tick box that they must have all these things to be able to apply into the program. And then the second one is the projects that are selected from that come and do presentations to the tooling working group, and then they will build their recommendation list and send it to the OSC from that. So we're currently this Friday or tomorrow, I guess, gonna qualify what those things are, what the checkbox is, and then the selection criteria of how we evaluate phase 2. And then I'm going to push to get a decision for how many projects they're wanting to administer. My recommendation is we don't do more than 20 just because admin becomes a burden at that point. And that way the funds are still within a range that would actually boost projects. So that's the current status of where things are. Leonard Hegarty is doing the pre-selection checklist since he was with core working group, and then Manuel is doing the selection criteria.
Questions, comments, concerns, additions? Okay. Yep.
Sorry, yeah, that might be something we've got to figure out a way that these working groups can actually have global accessible times. The tooling working group is currently happening at like 3 a.m. Pacific time. So like whether that's like alternating the meeting time every other week or something, we need to be more friendly to the West Coast of the US and the East Coast of Asia in terms of time zone setting.
Yeah, so I actually like put up a lettuce meet like for like time zones for like committee members. That doesn't necessarily like fully represent like the globe, and some conflict is perhaps like inevitable. In particular, I think like sometimes it becomes necessary to decide between Brazil and like East Asia. So I don't know if we want to like break things out into like two like smaller meetings, or just like pick based off of like where the committee is available. But I would encourage everybody to like fill out that like let us meet like form, so we can at least get like the information on the committee's availability.
Yeah,
I
Adam, I
will
can also
I'll
propose it tomorrow.
send that.
Sorry, I didn't respect the rules. Okay. I was gonna say I'll propose that tomorrow since it's a weekly cadence. Maybe we can stagger it every other week. That way, time zones are represented and everyone's sacrificing the same way. Or they do something twice a week, something like that.
Yeah, just ensuring, that the developers that, that's a really bad time for them for whatever reason, actually could go and present their project to the working group, and they don't have to be up till 1 or 2 in the morning or some ungodly hour and then expected to give a professional presentation. It's so just something,
yeah.
even if it's one out of 4 a month or something, just make one other alternate time zone friendly time meeting essentially.
Oh yeah, the presentation window for phase 2 is actually going to be like a 2-week sprint where it's multiple times and they can pick a slot. Think like the developer advocate interview type thing. So
I'm very much in agreement with that. Either like we alternate it, or like add like one extra meeting like a month, like at a different time. Something along those lines.
Alrighty. Anything else on tooling, Johnny?
Yeah. Have we got a list of the checkbox items and a draft of the application form? I'm sorry if it was already set by Christian.
it's in the tooling working group thread, and I pinged everyone who was in the last meeting to get their comments in there.
My plan is to be building that application form next week, post the feedback from tomorrow's meeting.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to committee elections, and I'm going to switch what I'm sharing here. This is the page that we have for the open source committee. It's been shared in the Discord channel there. Basically, if anything should change on this, and I did mention to the other secretaries that a lot of these are quite wordy. My understanding would be is that maybe not a lot of applicants had fully read this in conjunction with all the other resources that are available as well. So if there is feedback as far as how to change this, then that would be appreciated. There is a revision to the questions that we'd be asking that's been shared in the Discord channel as well. I haven't seen a ton of feedback on that as of yet. I guess we've got one okay on that here so far, but not sure if everyone is willing to adjust the questions with the new questions put forth in Discord. If there's more of a consensus that the current questions are still okay. The suggestion for changing them is that based on our revised responsibilities here with the budget and program management, that we may need to kind of get a little bit more from who's applying for the open source committee. But open to the thoughts, questions, and I can move back and forth depending on what you guys want to talk about.
I have dropped the revised question suggestion in chat just for quick reference right now.
I think Q3 got cut off. I'll paste that.
Yeah, I hit the maximum character limit and it cut off the end, and then I posted it in a separate post, but it had already been cut off, so I apologize. But yes, the third one's there now.
Oh, bye-bye, Christina. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, since I don't hear a lot of like commentary, maybe this is just again something that we need to do async to ping everybody to review as needed in the next week. Sorry, go ahead, Elaine.
No. I forgot to raise the hand, so it's all good. But I am in favor of the newer questions at the moment. But yeah, I don't think we need to necessarily like decide on it like in this meeting. I think wordier and more specific is probably fine in this particular document because, you know, there has to be a place that is exhaustive. Other like information can be shorter as like summaries or like just leading people to stuff, but you know, I don't think we need to worry too much about cutting down on verbosity in this. And more specific is better.
Johnny?
Georg in chat raised the statement that he was okay with the questions from last time and doesn't feel they need to be changed so much. The third one is an issue potentially with the budget and contract management, and whether or not that would be relevant in the next budget phase, but we'll find out over time. That's one of the reasons, and then the other ones might be too broad and not specific enough, which is why they've been made more verbose, as Elaine said. But yeah, that's the reasoning for the revision.
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick comment that number 1 and 2, for one, I like that we've specified talking about engaging with open source communities, because I don't know what open communities are in general from these original questions. And that does seem very like 1 and 2 are the same question, just whether or not you're a dev or more on the social and relations side of things. So I do like that these revised questions, we've combined that into one so that we can get kind of like your I guess a little bit of management experience is what question 2 and 3 are moving towards, which is maybe more appropriate for somebody on this kind of like high level executive committee position going forward.
Yeah, because the budget is now ratified and we're now setting up programs and we'll have these rules of like evaluating progress, looking at things that have been done, making sure that things are allocated. I think they're more relevant to what the role will actually entail going forward, which it didn't until the budget was ratified this year.
Any other? Yeah, go ahead.
Elaine just said the question 3. It was the old question 3 that I was referring to may not be as relevant in the next term for people. But yeah, that's fine.
Any other thoughts or feedback at this time? Okay. We do need to have this finalized by next week, so what I will simply do is I'll put a poll up in Discord probably on Monday and set that for 3 days. That way everyone has some flexibility over the weekend to review and add comments. What I would suggest aside from the questions, which are the new ones are cleanly placed right now, do you have a look at this one again, just in case there is anything that we do need to change? Beyond that, we'll move back to the agenda here, and we're on to the accelerator program.
Accelerator, they have a follow-up meeting today at 8 a.m. I gotta get in touch with Chris, but he did have clear mandate to clarify what the role for the mentors would be, as well as project inclusion and criteria associated with that. But we did agree that him and John Woodward are going to be leads for the program. That's kind of the low-hanging fruit at the moment. Sebastian.
Yeah. What time is the meeting? I'd like to talk.
Hour and a half from now, 90 minutes from now.
Hour and a half. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, the Google Meet. Let me see if I can invite you to it. You aren't already.
Right. Thanks. Anything else on accelerator? That seems correct to me, Adam. Arun.
Could you please give a short explanation of what the accelerator program is?
The accelerator program is meant to be a funnel. Think like how Draper University, Techstars, things like that. This is done on a 50K budget, though, to pilot a community-led one with people within the ecosystem. Chris Kowalski from Otis is leading this, and the idea is to help pre-post Catalyst projects. As long as you have an MVP, this is to get you mentors and to help scale you to have a business model and strategy and enhance the projects that way. It's mostly tailored towards products, whereas like the incubation program we have within Intersect is to help mentor open source projects. But that one is not related to funding. The accelerator is related to funding.
Yeah, you've answered my second question, which was like if there's an incubator program to accompany this. So what's the process for someone getting into this program? The incubator or the accelerator?
The accelerator, basically, the only thing right now that is there is the draft of what the plan for the accelerator is, and then the commercialization working group where the conversation's taking place. Other than figuring out who the leads were last week, nothing else has been done just yet. So I will be hounding them from this call onward. But the timeline for the accelerator is probably not until either very late this year or early next year.
I think it's a very good what is it called? It's a good project, I think, and very much needed.
Agreed. I'll link the description of it here in a second in the chat.
Yes, if just send me the link.
It
The
is in
link
the
was
chat
posted
there.
above in the chat there, yeah.
Yeah. And you will find it in the Discord as well. It's commercialization utility working group. I'm going to propose we just change it to accelerator working group right now, because all the other initiatives I think have dropped minus this.
Yeah. If a link to the meeting could be sent, or if he's already invited, I'm not sure. But I think the enthusiastic yes was in response to the meeting request. Potentially.
Yes, yes, it was.
I will ping Chris is the owner of it, so I'll get him to send the invites.
All right. If there's nothing else on Accelerator, next up is Summer of Code. There was a suggestion of who might lead that, but looks like that did not pan out as we may have hoped. But the question is still, do we split the funding for this program into where there is a stipend for an external contributor who would be the lead of the program, or do we focus the spending of that program on the participants and events related?
What was the question again, Tex?
So the question here is, do we still provide a stipend for a external contributor who would serve as a lead, or do we divert or primarily utilize the funds specifically for the participants of the program and related events?
If I can chime in 2 thoughts before you, Adam. So one thing that brought up from Intersect leadership on this is they also would prefer that whoever we're doing the mentorship with the students, that a contract be signed with that company, that they manage the program. That way it's less overhead administratively with us, and we can just do the report progress and monitor it that way. And then also outsourcing something of a stipend to a program manager to run this. So that's a conversation. I already did talk to Robin Boning on this, and he isn't able to do it just with time constraints and everything else. So that is still up in the air. Adam?
Yeah, I was wondering, did we have a ballpark on what we were planning on paying for that stipend for whoever the champion or the project manager is for this thing? Because I think that's the problem right now, right? Like, essentially, we went out, we proposed a budget line item for this based on us creating a budget for somebody that's no longer in the committee, and which we're going to run into again here in a few more weeks at the end of October, when some of us drop off and get replaced. So we're gonna have new people that are coming in to take up these programs. So I don't know. I feel like, are we equipped to execute on a Summer of Code right now? I don't feel like we are.
So the idea too is also, when do you run it? And if you're talking students, we're talking summer next year, which gives us roughly almost a year to plan it out. So timeline wise, it still could be done. And Robin in mind had somewhere up to 30,000 in compensation for a part-time program manager, up to 40 depending on what does happen. I was still going to write out what he thinks the job would entail and give me something that I can at least pass and carry on. So that conversation has to be had. And I did have an off-sync meeting with somebody which may be interested in the role, considering they don't have much technical skill sets, but they do have program management skill sets in the community. So I'm trying to finalize that before I throw their name out there with whatever appreciation or backlash may come of it. So.
Okay, I mean, so it sounds like it's that
There's
for
ideas
the time being, until we get some more concrete proposals to actually move the program forward. But I mean, do we have a hard cutoff, like where if we don't have a program manager and the people that are going to run this program, then we need to abandon this and give the funds back to the treasury? Like, what is the plan here, since it's currently like just sitting in limbo? But I realize we have a lot of other irons in the fire that also need to get resolved. So
yeah, the big ticket items with maintainer, retainer, the tooling, and then other small pieces that low-hanging fruit we can get across. I'd say if mid Q3 we don't have this figured out in like a month and a half, maybe it's something we just set aside and drop. But I am going to engage people next week now that we're mostly made progress on the bigger programs, and those are slowly becoming more independent of my involvement. So. Eric, I'll sync with you after this if you want to run through it, or even tomorrow would work better for me.
Yeah, we can do that, or we can start a thread on Discourse so everyone can see what we're discussing.
Okay. That works.
All right. Just shared in the interest of transparency, a little bit of a priority list of essentially what we're looking at for getting the contract details worked out. Does anybody on the committee have issues with this list of priority here?
To explain the priority on there, we put the things that have the most work and can get over the line the fastest at the top. So the first 4 are like almost done because they're very simple, straightforward, and then we started with the big things after that.
LA?
Sorry, does OS travel like include like the events like budget for like the for the conference in Korea, like the Linux open source conference?
Yes, the OS travel is the bucket of 125K USD for the year for committee travel.
Uh-huh. I feel like that's a little bit higher priority than it should be, or I feel like that should be a little bit higher priority than it is on this list, no? Because there's a very concrete timeline for that. Like, and
Right.
we probably want to confirm whatever we want to do like ahead of the deadline, ahead of the actual like date of the conference.
To clarify, based on yesterday's meeting that I had, the top 5, the first 5 here are all actively being worked, and the goal is to have those ready to be, over the line within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, they're in parallel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the other ones kind of require more of our decision making before contracts can be finalized. And I did put Code Forest Accelerator above tooling because tooling is going to require 2 or 3 more meeting sessions and the presentations before they finalize things to actually put things in contract. So there's explanation on that.
Yeah, so just as a kind of like any other business, because I believe we're kind of into that phase of the meeting right now. Do we have like an actual dedicated champion for developer advocate that's going to give like regular updates on what that program is actually doing or accomplishing to the main committee? Because I mean, I know a lot of guys and gals on the call today are probably our dev advocates, and that's why they're here. But as a generic community member that hasn't been tapped in and can't make the times for the meetings, I have no idea what you guys are actually doing and accomplishing with that budget. So it's hard for me to continue supporting if I'm not getting some sort of a regular update. So are we planning on having at least like a 5-minute stand up from a developer advocate champion that can give us the TLDR on what that program is doing? And similar for all the other programs that we're onboarding.
As far as the developer advocates, that's something that I would take on for updates primarily, with the exception of once they begin working within the role. We'd expect the updates to come directly from them. That's why they've been added to the meeting for attendance purposes. To provide additional clarity right now, we put out a request for them to suggest deliverables from on their own that would be added to their contract. And they are in what would be considered a volunteer stage for the month of September while we work on getting those contracts officially signed, meaning their 9 months runs from October of 2025 through the end of June, or sorry, the end of May 2026. End of June. Q1 and Q2.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that we have time for all of them to come up and give us a 5-minute stand up in these 1-hour meetings that are only bi-monthly. So again, I would really prefer if there was a champion there that could just give us an overall overview. And again, Tex, I'm trying to take stuff off of your plate because I know you're grossly overworked especially at the moment. So we should really have another committee member that's willing to kind of raise their hand and be that person on behalf of these programs.
Yeah, I could not at the moment, but like going forward, I can like stay on top of the developer advocate program. If nobody else wants to or has the time on this, then I can take that on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also okay if the developer advocates just choose somebody, to stand up and give us a short presentation every other week or whatever on what the overall group has been doing. Might be a more easy way to do it, so we're not actually requiring additional time investment from committee members, but the actual developer advocates themselves. But just maybe a rotating champion from the developer advocates themselves is a good choice.
I'd second that.
I think the current meeting cadence is actually there's two different time zones and two different reps. So we could alternate, but each of those are like one person from each of those working group sessions that leads it comes into a committee call, since there's 2 a month. That way you're getting both sides of the hemisphere, I guess.
Going back just a little bit on the priority piece, something else that was raised yesterday is the project support services item. Obviously, as this is something from open source office primarily, I was doing my best to support and defend that. There was a question, however, on whether or not there is any research or understanding of the utility behind that program, and whether or not that should be, basically, should we keep project support services, or do we need to determine if that's actually going to be something that's beneficial before we start attributing funds that way? So I wanted to at least present that to the committee for discussion in the case that anyone is aware of its utility, or if that's something we do need to define.
So I'm going to probably echo what Sebastian is getting ready to say, in that like these kind of programs, like, I've been in Better Business Bureaus and other like kind of MBO type organizations in the past, and they always have these programs that you technically can apply for, but like there's only a handful of people that know about them and take advantage of those things. And so, what does project support mean? What can I get from project support services? And then how do I apply? So again, it really is going to come down to, if we can't show it's being utilized, it's probably because we're not doing a good enough job of selling whatever the benefits are, or letting people know that the benefits exist. But it's a chicken and an egg, right? We need to have the funds available to provide the support if it's requested. But at the same time, we don't know what will be requested until we get out there and tell people what's available to them. So 6 of one, half dozen of another on whether or not we should keep it or scrap it. I'm kind of ambivalent. I think it will probably not be as beneficial as it makes sense in our minds when we're talking about the program, only because of that lack of awareness that the program exists. And Sebastian lowered his hand, but I know he was next before Johnny. So.
No, that's my point. That's exactly my point. Thanks.
I can go after Johnny.
Yeah, so this is definitely the marketing push requirement one again, and this exists as a program and has before. I think you were offering those services, but they weren't picked up so much. So yeah, it definitely needs a push in various locations to be like maybe like a Better Call Saul style, very enthusiastic. Like, if you need this, you can reach out to the open source office.
To clarify, I did do that last week, but because I put the wrong preview link, the retreat from Charles, even though we got 36,000 views, only 2 people were able to access and submit a request.
So that's a fumble. That's a marketing fumble right there.
So we do have requests coming in, and we do have, I got to follow up. We got our requests came in from M Labs for potential things. I got to scope out exactly what they're asking for, because it was kind of ambiguous, big all ask. So I'll follow up with that. And then we do, especially with the Chinstrap partners, I just need to get tickets to log to prove the utility of this, I think, is the other falling point. Because right now we're only getting tickets that come in from people actually requesting versus side-hand conversations I have that I did not reflected back into this. But a lot of people are wanting consultation with legal open source expert support and stuff. And even if there's not a monetary cost right now for it, we can log that as demand on it. And the funds are there if we need to utilize it.
Yeah, I'll just go on public record as saying I'm highly against companies that just received hundreds of thousands of ADA from the Treasury, separately submitting to take money from the open source budget to consult legal advice. So again, like, who are these programs trying to help? Are we trying to just reinforce the cycle of people that are already well funded getting more free shit, or are we actually trying to empower the developers that don't have funding? Because if M Labs is our one company that's actually put in a proposal, they are already substantially well funded, and I don't see why they would need to take advantage of this program and remove that funding from other potentially more needy applicants.
To clarify that, we'll take all the requests and formulate them for y'all to review, and then we can maybe set up some criteria for premature denial of things, like we did with the incubation program. But the clarify too, the legal support, these legal people are doing it for free, so it's kind of open to anybody for consultation. But if there's a price tag, that comes to y'all before anything gets allocated, 100%.
Not to put anybody on the spot, but I believe we do have a representative from M Labs if they wanted to speak up specifically.
Hey guys, I've just been following along. Yeah, I did see that application, and it was mainly just to open a dialogue because there was some open source projects that didn't get funded through Treasury proposals. So I had put in the application for, I guess, more information, but it was targeting like so many different areas. I just put down what seemed like the most feasible.
And because the support service is kind of the only form you can fill out right now, I think that's what the intention was there.
Right. Anything? Oh, Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, if there's only one form that's for multiple things within the services offered by Open Source Office, one way that you might be able to get more engagement is having like explicit offered services with individual applications for people to pick and choose what they want to apply for. Just as a workflow, plus then you'd already have them pre-categorized and you'd have queues based on each thing that's needed, right? Which of course you could probably do with a drop down, but having it explicit as you can apply for this or this or this or this, and then just go straight to that specific form might be easier for people to. I hate having to use this term now because it's been ruined. Grok.
Brock?
Yeah, it used to be a science fiction reference to mean understand something, grok, but now it's
Grok.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter and Elon has ruined that word for me.
Yes, I remember that word.
Yeah, we do currently have the way it's the one form you can select multiple types, and we're associating with the company, but it does get filtered by the labels of support that they choose. So, and demand hasn't been too high, but we look at that for sure, Johnny. Try and enhance it better.
It's my reasoning is people can be bamboozled with so many choices that they don't even realize that they are the choices if they're just directed to a single form. But if everything's listed individually and then they can pick one and go straight to that application, then they don't have that initial sort of sticker shock of what do I choose?
Yeah. And I'm thinking related to the marketing thing that we're missing, once we get more programs up, we can probably start doing like bi-weekly marketing messaging about where to go, what to do on multiple forums and stuff. And hopefully I don't mess up all the Twitter reposts with the wrong form. So.
All right. We are right about at time. Is there anything else that somebody feels needs raised today? Okay. I'll give one last note for myself. I'm going to put a little bit more concentrated effort to the delegation. I know that's been a consistent topic or concern, at least from my role as a secretary. But what I would say is that my ability to delegate does, in some cases, depend on volunteering. So if you have an ability to support something specific, please let me know. And I will do my best to become a lot better at giving away ownership, if you will, of those different tasks. But with that, we will close up today's meeting. And yeah, go ahead, Elaine.
No, I was just gonna say, like, with regarding that, I am going to be meeting out to meeting out. I'm going to be scheduling meetings with everyone one-on-one to talk more about that delegation stuff. This was announced previously, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So.
Awesome. All right. See you all. Otherwise, we're in a few weeks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.